Hello and welcome, and boy, do we have a lot to cover today. The news just doesn't stop, does it? I mean, we have big changes with unemployment credits. We have some paycheck protection, commonly asked questions that I keep getting asked every single day, so we're going to address them at the end of this video. That way, hopefully you have everything you need regarding the Paycheck Protection Program. We have an entirely new infrastructure stimulus bill and much, much more. So just hopping right in, the $10,200 unemployment credit. If you aren't aware, there's this unemployment credit for 2020 unemployment where any amount up to $10,200 per person, you do not have to pay federal taxes on. You still have to pay state taxes in most states, but you don't have to pay federal taxes. Now, if you already have filed with the IRS for your 2020 taxes, don't take any action yet. Like if you filed first before this credit came out, don't take any action yet. The IRS commissioner has said that he expects automatic refunds for those who have already filed for their taxes. He said until it's final though, just don't file an amended return. They're going to update some official guidance, but he told the House Ways and Means Committee that he thinks that they're going to be able to just make it completely automatic, which would make everyone who received unemployment, their life so much easier if they already filed taxes and they don't have to do an amended return. They don't have to do anything. You'll just get an additional check separate, either deposited right in your bank account or a mailed check. If you've yet to file, the commissioner is saying to do so electronically. And also many tax prep sites have already made updates on that unemployment criteria. So you should be good to go and be able to file your taxes as of right now and get that full credit and get it submitted. Moving on to stimulus checks. Many people are actually being mailed stimulus checks this time around, the third check, and they didn't the first two times around, and they don't know why. Now, one possible reason why this is happening, I know it's happening to several people. I actually have friends who have said that this happened to them, is you owed taxes from 2020. If you had to pay in taxes from 2020, then you will very likely receive a paper check mailed to you. This is because of how the IRS system is set up. The system for depositing funds is different than the system for pulling out funds, and for whatever reason, they just can't deposit a stimulus payment into an account that paid in taxes that year. I know it doesn't make total sense, but that's exactly what they're saying. The IRS is also saying that they've now sent out 127 million checks. But some Social Security recipients are still waiting. I think most are honestly still waiting for their payments. And the IRS was waiting for the Social Security Administration to send over info about the beneficiaries, the addresses, if they're still on these various programs before the checks were actually sent. But I just found out that info was not given to the IRS until last Thursday, this most recent Thursday. So they just got that information. And I mean, very rightly so, a lot of people in the Senate and the House are mad about this. They're livid about the fact that it's been weeks to just receive the information and then payments can be sent out. But they should be on their way now through whichever method you typically receive your benefits. If you receive them electronically, it should just be deposited right into that account. If you typically receive your benefits by mail, it should just be mailed to that same address. Moving on from here, Biden's $3 trillion, potentially $4 trillion infrastructure plan is set to be unveiled next week on Wednesday, the 31st in Pittsburgh. He's going to go to Pittsburgh. He's going to announce this massive infrastructure bill. That's actually kind of two parts. But we have even though it's not unveiled yet, there's been some leaks. We have a little sneaky peeky as to what it may include. We have a pretty good idea as to what it may include. These things just always get leaked somehow. Every single secret bill, it's like we already know 95% of it before they're ever unveiled. But according to Biden, the main goal of this plan is kind of two bills, is to, quote, rebuild the infrastructure, both the physical and technological infrastructure of this country, so that we can compete and create significant numbers of, quote, really good paying jobs. And this bill is going to address a ton of areas, including climate change, 5G, electrical grids, which I think actually are a pretty bad problem. I haven't done like a huge deep dive into this, but I feel like I've heard in passing that the US electrical grids are pretty bad. But it's also going to give funding for more broadband, more education, and much, much more. But as a part of this bill, there's also going to be a crazy amount of tax hikes, including some of the following: increasing the corporate tax rate from 21% up to 28%, increasing tax on individuals earning more than $400,000 per year, increasing the estate tax, increasing capital gains tax for high income earners, and probably some more that aren't even leaked yet. So this is potentially a concern. It's not a concern to necessarily tax people who make more money, but it's always in the back of my mind that it's like those tax rates start at the top and then work their way down. Like it seems like the tax, goes to those who are earning $1 million a year first, but then slowly but surely that tax rate kind of goes down to the average income earner. And there's also the concern of mine that when taxes are really high, there's an incentive for businesses to leave. So there's this fine balance as to what's the correct tax rate. I don't know what the exact answer is, but I know that, businesses leave high tax areas. I mean, look at California. We have so many businesses just flooding out of California, and so many business owners who are like, I'm never going to do business in California because their taxes are so high, because their regulations are so crazy. So it's not an insane thought to think if the taxes here in just the US in general get too high, businesses are going to say, oh, why don't we just go to Canada if we're going to save 20%? But again, I don't know what the correct amount is, and I'm not here to try to influence anyone one way or the other. Maybe the higher rate is the correct amount. I don't know. But I'm just saying there are concerns with super high taxes. Estimates do show that these tax hikes would increase tax revenue by $2.1 trillion over the next decade. So all those increased taxes would increase the tax revenue by $2.1 trillion. But remember, the bill would cost $3 to potentially $4 trillion. So the next question is, how are they going to pass this massive bill? This would be the biggest bill ever passed in history. And their plan is to kind of split it in two parts. So we're going to have one part that has bipartisan priorities that they think would be able to be voted through with just a normal majority in the House and the Senate, just like passing a normal bill. And then the other half of the bill is going to have items that Republicans would never vote for, and Democrats will use budget reconciliation, again, just like how they did in the latest stimulus bill. Now, the ruling shows that they can do this twice per year. They can use budget reconciliation twice per year, so it seems possible to do. And if we know anything about budget reconciliation now, it's much more complicated than passing a normal bill, so we'll see exactly how this pans out and how exactly they plan to do it. Another potential hiccup here is what the moderate Democrats might think about these bills, because we remember from the latest stimulus bill, the moderate Democrats have a ton of power, because even if there's budget reconciliation in the Senate, they need every single Democratic senator to vote for that bill. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Joe Manchin was the one who was really on the fence here, and he actually seems to be on board with the huge infrastructure bill. So this thing actually might happen. Now, moving on from here, let's cover some paycheck protection news. Oh, and first, make sure you check out the link in my description for Webull so you can get 2 completely free stocks. Check out the link for BlockFi so you can get some free crypto, get some free money. Might as well check that out. Okay, paycheck protection news. Congress has voted to extend the PPP with a new application deadline of May 31st. It is an extremely exciting update. It's like just a relief. I already did an entire video on this, so I won't spend too much time, but I'm just so happy that this has actually been extended. Many more businesses are going to actually be able to get funding because of this. So now you have 2 months to apply, but I still recommend applying as soon as possible. There's also another bill that will hopefully get passed that will up that net income amount to gross income if you already received a loan based on net income. Congress is aware of this. I'm hoping that that bill gets passed as well, but we'll have to wait and see what exactly happens. But for those of you who have applied, I wanted to address some very, very common questions I've seen. And for those of you who are a part of the channel Discord group, you're already going to know the answer to these because we have a discussion group specifically for the PPP. So if you're still stuck, check out the link in the description for my Discord group. There's a lot of really helpful people in there. First common question, secondary lender review. So many of you have applied for the Paycheck Protection Program. You're checking the status update. It says secondary lender review. All this means is the lender is reviewing the application again. This is just them going through their internal audit and fraud checks, and no action is usually needed. They will let you know if any action is needed. This is a totally normal process. I know people personally who their loans are currently in that process. A lot of people are in that process, and it might take a while to process. I just said process way too many times, but it's almost like random, certain applications are picked and then it's just an additional process. I gotta quit saying that, but it takes a little bit extra time, but it's nothing to worry about. Next, if for whatever reason you need to re-trigger your DocuSign, if there was some issue with it, if there was a security question issue, you can now do so yourself. You can go to pppfastlane.womply.com/sign-in, and I'll have that link below. And all you have to do is click resend application via DocuSign, and it'll look very similar to this screen. Might not look exactly, but you just click that button. Next, lender funding. What does that mean? If you log in and you see lender funding, it looks like this. This is actually good news. It means that the lender has the promissory note and the funding process has begun. However, this can still take several days before it's completely processed and funded into your account. So there's still a little bit of a wait, but you can relax knowing that funding is on its way to your bank account. So that's very exciting if you see that. Next question I've been receiving a lot is, how do you pay yourself? If you are a solo operator, this is extremely easy. You just simply transfer the money from your business bank account to your personal account and you are good to go. If it got deposited right into your personal account, you are good to go. It's that easy. Now for forgiveness. Many people are now asking about forgiveness now that they've received funding. If you ask any lender, they're basically going to tell you it's too early to worry about forgiveness because they're just worried about getting people funded right now. And really, you have plenty of time to worry about forgiveness because you have 10 months after your covered period to apply for forgiveness. So there is plenty of time here, and your lender will reach out to you when it's appropriate to apply for forgiveness. So don't worry about that too much. I have videos explaining forgiveness on my channel, and I'll post more in the future once it becomes more relevant as well. So that's going to do it for today's update. I know that was a ton of information. I would like to thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a profitable day.